45 minutes. After, we appeal for your help.
A teenage girl goes missing. Months later, she's photographed with a man almost twice her age.
This picture was posted on the internet in January this year, and it's the last anyone's seen of Alexandra.
This morning, her parents need your help to bring her home. Hello, good morning. This is Missing Live. Once again today, we're bringing you news of just some of the people who are missing in the UK right now. We'll also be hearing about a couple reunited 40 years after they were forced apart.
But before all that, we've got some news that's coming overnight. Terry for Missing People is here again. Terry, you had some interesting calls overnight?
Yeah, we have. We had quite a lot of calls yesterday, so that's always good news. So a couple of updates for you today. Carmel Fenwick we featured yesterday. She was the young lady missing from Crawley, but it's a long-term case, missing about 10 years. Last known to frequent London, get involved in drugs. Her mother was very worried about her at the time, and obviously still now. We've had 5 potential sightings for her, so that's really interesting. Quite a lot of different things. Some people think that she may have been living rough. Some people may have seen her with young children. So quite a few.
And that is good from a case that dates back to 1998. Exactly. So that is very encouraging. Do we have anything else?
Yeah, we do. Ian Mowat, he's the man missing from Scotland, Arbroath, since August 2007. We've had 7 potential sightings on him, so that's good. But they're from all over the UK, so nothing particular to link them yet.
Something a little bit more concrete on that.
That's right, yeah.
OK, well, that's an encouraging start anyway, Terry. We'll be talking to you later in the programme. Of course, if you can help with any of these cases that you see on today's programme, please call 0500 700 700. Calls are free from landlines, but mobile charges will vary.
He's the big brother they could always rely on. So why has it been 6 years since Kevin's family have heard anything from him? Liverpool has always been home to the Fasting family. Kevin is the second of 5 children, and he's seen here when his younger sister Tracy got married 15 years ago. Tracy has always been especially fond of her big brother.
I always felt very close to Kevin because he's just such a lovely nature, just really quiet and gentle, and yeah, quite protective if you need to be. He wasn't sort of overly protective, but you could go to him if somebody was bothering you. But just always good for a laugh, Kev. You know, you could always have a good laugh with him.
Kevin got married and has 3 children. Becky is his youngest daughter.
Got really good memories of him, to be honest. Like, I can always remember him taking me to the park and stuff, out with my brother and sister. My brother and sister are a lot older than me, but we still used to have, you know, family time together and that. Just swimming, he used to take us all the time. I spent a lot of time with him, really. I've got quite fond memories of him.
13 years ago, Kevin got divorced.
Well, the marriage broke down after about 13, 14 years, which hit Kevin quite hard, obviously, because the children left as well, you know, which they were just his life, basically. It meant that he was only seeing Rebecca maybe every weekend or twice a week instead of, you know, being there for her on call.
I saw a lot of him, seen him at weekends, but obviously, you know, it's not the same. Didn't see him as much as, you know, before. It was a big difference, really.
Because he was able to keep hold of the house and had his son there with him, which gave him, you know, something to concentrate on, something to do, and look forward to the weekends to see the children. So it didn't seem to change much, probably until he actually gave up work.
Kevin had been working for the local council for 20 years, but in 2002 he was feeling under a lot of pressure and had a breakdown. Out of the blue, he gave up his job.
He didn't really talk about getting another job. He used to talk about a lot of things, things he was thinking of doing to maybe generate a little bit more income. He did touch on sort of maybe renting a couple of rooms out in the house, and he'd start saying, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but nothing ever came of anything he had. You know, I think he'd always have second doubts and wasn't quite sure what he wanted to do.
Although he tried to hide it from his family, Kevin wasn't really getting any better. Things came to a head in February 2003.
Every weekend without fail I'd go and see him. Like it was a given. And then one weekend my uncle rang me up and said, "Oh Beck, your dad's not well, can you not come this weekend but maybe see him through the week?"
My eldest brother had popped down to see Kevin and couldn't get any answer. All the curtains were drawn and hammered at the door. I was just about to break the door down when Kevin came to the door, but sort of disorientated and everything. He took him to the hospital where they wanted to section him, but he didn't want to. But he was even saying that, "I'm okay, I'm fine, I'll go back to my house." And the guy said, "No, you either get sectioned or you can go and stay with somebody." So he'd come to stay with my parents.
Over the next few months, Kevin started getting himself together. He sold his house and even started working again.
We thought he was improving because he went out and got himself a little job, and we thought, oh, you know, this will be good for him getting out every day and he'll feel more, you know, settled and in a routine, just having a purpose.
He got the job with the social services. It was like a Meals on Wheels, and he was going around with the delivery guy and went out as normal on the Friday. And then my mum got a call around about 11 o'clock from the job, from the people he was employed by, asking to speak to him. She said, no, he's gone to work, and they said, no, he hasn't shown up.
Coming up, there's a search across Merseyside, and after a national appeal, someone thinks they've seen Kevin.
The female did actually know Kevin, so we were quite hopeful that that actually was an actual sighting.
Now, of course, people go missing for all sorts of different reasons, but in Kevin's case, it's likely that his experience with depression played a major part. Author Virginia Ironside is with us now, and she's been through it herself. Morning to you. Thanks very much for coming to talk to us. You twice went to a hospital because of depression. How did it affect you, and how did it come about?
I'm not sure how it came about. It just sort of came about. You know, it'd be very easy if it had been prompted by particular things. What happened was I just couldn't stop crying, and I couldn't really operate. That's the thing. I mean, I could not. It was difficult to get up in the morning, get dressed, even walk. Your whole body shuts down, and you're just miserable and feel there's no point to life at all. Or rather, it's not, I mean, I don't know who feels there's a lot of point to life, but the fact that there is no point to life really matters to you when you're depressed.
That's a very interesting way of putting it. And when you were in those low points, did you think of a way out? How did you find help?
I went to see my GP, obviously. I went to see psychiatrists, I was given pills, I went to see counsellors. I tried every alternative method in the book. I went to homeopaths, cranial osteopaths, crystal people, you know, acupuncture. You grasp at straws. And, I mean, some of these things can work for people. For me, pills didn't work, but I'm very glad I tried them because they can work very quickly when they do work, and they are miraculous. I think time really worked in the end, just waiting.
If there are people watching us today, and we understand that one of the reasons Kevin may have gone missing was because of depression, what would you say to people who are feeling in that really low place, that perhaps they think the only alternative is to walk out the door and not come back?
Well, I think first, they mustn't listen to that voice in their head that says, I am worthless, and leaving is the only answer, because that is part of depression. And if you can separate that from your real self, the real self is somebody who wants to be at home and with their family and living happily. But there's another self who comes in and just has these very, very negative messages. Don't listen. When you want to go to the doctor, that voice will say, there's no point. He won't be able to help, or she won't be able to help. There's nothing anyone can do. That is depression speaking. It's not you.
OK, and you have found a way out. What is your advice to people looking for that way out? What's the best thing to do?
You must clutch at every straw you can find, even when you don't believe the straws will work. And if you go on looking and looking and looking, Most depressions go away with time, and my feeling is you've just got to search.
OK. Virginia, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you could do with some help, perhaps, and advice on any of the issues that come up in the programme today, you can, of course, go to the BBC's Headroom website, bbc.co.uk/Headroom.
You're at home for the evening with your wife and family. The next time you check on your teenage daughter, she's gone. A 15-year-old girl is missing from her home in South London. Police have had a tip-off she might be at an address in North London.
Have you seen her at all? No? Have you seen this girl? In the property. Have you seen this lady? No.
Alexandra Kulikowska, known to her friends as Ola, only moved to the UK last year. Ola's parents told police the story of what's happened.
There was a phone call around about 7 o'clock, and within half an hour of that phone call, she'd left. She'd taken no money, no bags, no clothing.
After months with no news, suddenly, early this year, there's a development. Ola's spotted in photos with a former boyfriend.
I believe he has a hold over her, an older male over a younger girl. There is definitely an influence on her.
The boyfriend's called Andre. Andre's in his late 20s. His connection with Ola is worrying.
We're looking for a missing girl today. Right, her name is Alexandra Kulikowska. She's known as Ola. We have information to say that there are associates to the person that she's run off with at a couple of addresses on your area.
But Andre's involvement gives officers new leads. They target his known associates, hoping they'll lead to Ola.
Yeah, we think your brother-in-law knows this man who's also with her. Do you know this man at all?
Yeah, I know him. Yeah, because I know him from Poland. I saw him last time, maybe 1 year ago.
So you think you may have seen her 4 to 6 months ago?
Yeah.
Before, okay.
The leads are encouraging. Ola appears to still be in London. But without concrete evidence, no one knows if she's safe and well.
Our concerns for Ola is that the fact that she's a lone female would make her equally vulnerable to any means of crime that associates itself with young females. This is a young, vulnerable 15-year-old girl who is away from her parents' home with an older male, where we have no idea what sort of lifestyle and whether she's coming to any harm.
Well, police just want to know that Alexandra's safe and well, and the man leading the investigation for her with us now is DI Dave Smith. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning.
What do we know about this young lady then? When did she first come to the UK?
She first came into the UK approximately the beginning of last year.
OK. Is this out of character for her to go missing like this?
Just prior to this occasion she's gone missing. She actually went missing in June last year and she came back on August the 3rd. She had left a note for her parents saying she was unhappy at home. She received a phone call on the 6th of August from her, what you might term a boyfriend, Andre, and half an hour later, on the 6th of August, she went missing.
I think we can see a picture of Andre now, actually, because he is a crucial lead in this case, isn't he? He's quite distinctive. We can see he's heavily tattooed, and you really need to find out where he is, don't you?
Absolutely. We believe she's with him, although we haven't seen her since she went missing. There's been a lot of potential sightings with him, so that's what one of our main leads is.
And there was some usage on her Oyster card as well. Did that lead to anything?
There was, back in August, September last year. Her Oyster card was used in East and South East London, and we did have some CCTV footage in the Elephant and Castle area, but it was actually captured of Andre.
Right, so that must have been disappointing. But again, it points that he is such a crucial lead in it. Now, you've used social networking to help your investigation. Has that been helpful?
It has been helpful, and the Polish news agency have been very helpful. On other occasions, we found many people through that media. So it is useful. People keep in touch with friends, family. So yes, very useful.
And a lot of young people especially use this type of thing, don't they? what next?
We know, or we've had sightings, potential sightings in the North and East London areas. So if anybody knows or has seen him, is he working? Is she working in a bar or anything like that?
She is not in trouble, is she?
No, she is not in trouble. Her parents want her home safe. We want to know she's safe, and that's all we want to know. Is she safe and well in a safe environment?
OK, good message, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if you can help to make sure that Alexandra, or Ola, as she's sometimes known, is OK, then please get in touch. The number to call is on your screen now.
Your help is needed to find another teenager now. 17-year-old Jordan Ratcliffe has been missing since August last year. He's 5'5", of medium build with short ginger hair and brown eyes. The last time anyone saw him, he was being dropped off on Tib Street in Manchester. At the time, he was wearing a black or grey jacket, black Nike tracksuit bottoms and black trainers. If you think you know where Jordan might be, please get in touch.
The 24th of August 2008 was the last time anyone saw this lady. It's 48-year-old Sharon Joseph. Sharon's 5'9", slim build, with brown eyes and shoulder-length black hair, and she also quite often wears a beanie hat like this. If you've seen her or know anything about where Sharon could be now, then please let missing people know on 0500 700 700.
A proud dad of 3, Kevin's family have always been the centre of his world. His disappearance has made his daughter realise how much he means to her.
You just take for granted, just little things that I didn't even realise how happy he made me. I miss everything about him so much.
After his marriage broke down in 1999, Kevin made sure he saw the children as often as he could, but he struggled to cope and ended up living back at his mum and dad's. Then one morning in November 2003, he left for work, but he didn't turn up. There was no word from him all that day. His family immediately reported him missing to Merseyside police.
Well, we started looking for Kevin, interviewing his friends and his relatives, checking the local hospitals and checking the area, searching the area where we knew he'd been to see if we could find him.
Kevin was living with his parents in Aigburth, just outside Liverpool. Police launched a citywide search.
We utilised dog patrols and we utilised the Coast Guard as well. So we did quite an extensive search for Kevin.
It was all systems go then, yeah, everybody was contacted and the police were very good. They'd gone and looked everywhere and can we think of anywhere else where he may go? So every time we come up with somewhere that we could think of, they would go and, you know, investigate.
We actually check whether Kevin's used his bank account, we check with his doctor, we check with housing, we check with all the agencies to see whether they've had any contact with Kevin, but unfortunately that drew a blank too.
Kevin's family has also spent months searching.
This is Sefton Park. This is one of the first places that we looked, as I say, on the evening that I found out Kevin had gone missing. As I say, myself and my husband came and sort of walked right round the park, looking everywhere, you know.
Looking back, it all just seems like it went so fast, you know, the first month or so. And every day was just, you know, you were putting posters up.
Yeah, I stayed off work that first week. I was off and driving around all the places I could think of, going down to the school that I used to work in, Woolton, even drove up there to see if there was any sites up there, you know, going around all the old places and everything.
Then, last year, Kevin's photo was featured on Missing Live.
Now, to another case that needs your help. 49-year-old Kevin Fasting has been missing since November 2003. He was meant to have gone to work in the Bootle area of Merseyside one morning, but never turned up.
Following the appeal, viewers phoned in and 2 people thought they'd seen Kevin in the Liverpool area.
When sightings come in, we actually interview the person who's told us that they think they might have seen Kevin at length, and we find out whether they know Kevin or not. And in one case, the female did actually know Kevin, so we were quite hopeful that that actually was an actual sighting.
But despite such a positive lead, Kevin has not been found. It's over 5 years since Kevin disappeared. His sister still lives nearby and thinks of her brother every day.
Right, we're just going to turn into the road now where Kevin lived with his ex-wife and the children. It's quite hard going past the house. you know, go past there quite often because my other brother lives at the top of the road. It's quite painful. Just to, you know, think he was so unhappy in there, to be honest. It is sad to come up and think of that. You know, that's where he should be, really.
I miss him so much still, even now. Like, especially if I'm going through a bit of stress and I think, I don't know, I forget sometimes, and it's like, I would have just picked up the phone and you'll just say something silly and, you know, embarrassing dad jokes and, you know, that you think, oh, you just take for granted, just little things that I didn't even realise how happy he made me. I miss everything about him so much.
The whole family just want to know that Kevin's okay. So if you think you know anything about where he is now, please get in touch with missing people on their usual number.
Let's get an update from Terry on news so far. We've got some news on Peter Finney. We featured him on Tuesday. He used to work in the city. He's been missing since Saturday and went missing in Epsom, from Epsom, didn't he? What have you heard?
Yeah, that's right. A few things really. It's been an excellent response from the photo appeal, and we've had about 5 possible sightings, but nothing to specifically link them. But one thing that the police is following up is a potential link to Balham in southwest London. So it's a very recent case, missing since Saturday. So if anyone has seen him wearing beige trousers, and a tan jacket, then please phone in.
He's got quite a distinctive face as well, hasn't he?
That's right. Hopefully someone recognises him and gives us some information.
We've had quite a few calls as well about Samantha Wright. Now, she's 25. Her mum and dad were here yesterday. They lost contact with her in June. There have been quite a lot of calls on her.
There have, yeah. I mean, she was missing from Edinburgh last summer, and we've had about 12 potential sightings, a really good response. Some of them are suggesting the south of England, and some slightly older ones from the Sheffield area. So,
and her family, they got worried about her when they didn't hear her from at Christmas, also on her birthday as well.
That's right. So with any information really, you know, in Scotland where she went missing from, or potentially in other places in the country, we'd like to hear them.
OK, thank you very much.
Another very pressing case now. 44-year-old Trevor Adams, this is him. He's only been missing since Monday. He left his home in Inverurie, Aberdeenshire, at around 7 o'clock that morning and hasn't been seen since. Trevor's 5'9", medium build, and he has short grey hair. He also usually wears glasses. The last time anyone saw him, he was wearing a lilac check shirt and dark suit trousers. It's possible he had a dark casual jacket with him too. DI Neil Cameron is leading the search for Trevor, and he's on the phone now. Neil, good morning.
Good morning.
What do we know then about Trevor's last movements?
Well, all we know for sure is that Trevor left his home on Monday morning and was seen in the Inverurie area, and then a short time later his car was seen travelling south on the B977 between Dunecht and Echt. And I think it's really important that we try and find that car, because I'm pretty confident if we can locate this car, we can find Trevor.
Do we have the details of that vehicle then? Because that seems to be a pretty crucial lead.
Yeah, his car is a blue Vectra GSI. Registration number is VE02YOJ. And as I say, it was travelling south in the Dunecht area of Aberdeenshire about 7:30 on Monday morning. Where it was heading for, we don't know. And obviously we're looking for the public to report any sightings of that car, petrol stations, garages, that type of thing would be really important to us in the inquiry.
So do you believe he may still be in Scotland, or are you broadening the search?
We're focusing locally initially, but obviously we have one eye wider than that. But to be perfectly honest, we really don't know where he is, and that's why it's important we get the public's assistance in finding the vehicle. What we'd also like to do is find out from people who know Trevor. He was involved in a few community groups in the Inverurie area, and anyone that knows him would be keen to speak to, because they might be able to give us some background into his lifestyle, what he was thinking, what his plans were, and can maybe help us to find him.
OK, Neil. Well, certainly hope we can help you, and thank you for bringing that to us. If you think you've seen Trevor, please get in touch with Missing People and they'll pass your information on to the police.
Earlier on this week, we told you about family man Damian Tudge. His wife and daughter are here with us today, but the search is still on for Damian and his car.
41-year-old Damian Tudge is missing from his home in Kidderminster, Worcestershire.
There we all are, all in a...
His wife Jane and their young children are desperate to have him back.
He's a great dad, and he loved the kids to bits. I would say he's the most sensitive, lovable man anybody could wish for.
Four months ago, the couple were going out for the evening together.
We went to a pub first, and then we must have got into the karaoke place about 10:30. We had a really great night. It's fantastic.
But when they got home at about 11, the couple had a disagreement. Jane headed up to bed, but Damian didn't follow her.
Next thing I know, he's gone out the door. He's gone off in his car. Not really sure where. I don't even know how long it had been. All I know is I got a text message just saying, "Jane, I love you. I'll always love you and the kids." And it's like I don't know what was going through his head or why he'd take off in the car.
Damian didn't return home, and the next day Jane reported him missing. Police immediately try and trace the signal from Damian's mobile phone.
We did some work to try and establish where Damian was at the time of sending that text. He was still within the Kidderminster area.
Search and rescue teams are sent out across the West Midlands. Everyone is searching for Damian and his Peugeot 205.
We were contacted by the police and asked to do a river search. Initially, it was to do a run up the river to see if there were any signs of a vehicle either in or at the edge of the water. Subsequently, they asked us to do a thorough search of the bottom. There's no sign of any tyre marks or vehicle debris on the edges of the road, on the river banks, and there's no sign of anything, any vehicle or anything untoward in any of the deep holes that we've scanned.
Despite extensive search operations over the past 4 months, Damian's car has still not been found.
The emphasis for this inquiry is to locate that motor car. I'm confident wherever that location may be will not be too far away from Damian, hopefully safe and well.
Well, Damian's wife, Jane, and his daughter, Jade, are here with us now. Morning to you both. Thanks very much for coming in. Let's go back to that night that he went. Where did you think he'd gone that night?
I just thought he took off in his car to cool down, sort of like, and maybe after a few hours or something he'd have been back.
Are there any other areas that he knows well that he might have gone to?
There's Aberley Valley, which is the first place I looked, because he used to like taking the dogs there.
And you had a good night, hadn't you? You went out and you'd gone out and had quite a good evening until that point.
Yeah, it was fantastic. We really enjoyed it. So.
When did you realise he wasn't coming back then?
It was the next morning. I thought I thought he's obviously needing time to cool off, so I went to bed. When I got up, he just weren't anywhere to be seen, and then I started worrying.
Now, we know that he's had a pretty tough time at work, hadn't he? How had that affected him?
Yeah, he didn't like where he was working at all, and that's when I told him to give his job up, and he went to work for my brother then. But he still didn't seem very happy.
And when on that night, things seemed to be getting better, didn't they?
Yeah, I thought he seemed all right, and he seemed happy enough.
Jade, I know it's been really tough for your mum. Tell us about your dad. What's he like? What does he do with you?
Well, he used to play board games, and he used to fix computers for us as well. Because my computer kept breaking, and he always fixed it for me so I could play my games on the computer. And when me and my little brother wanted to go swimming, he'd always say, "Yeah, we can go." He always used to take us to Crystal Leisure Centre and the Glades. But he also used to take us to Aberley Valley, like Mum said. And
so he's a great dad, isn't he? How are you coping?
It's getting a bit better, but it's like, you know, we're still pretty much worried, like, what's happened, because we thought he'd been back by now.
If he was watching today, what would you say to him?
That we love him, we miss him, and we just want him to come home. But if he didn't want to come home, then that's up to him. Just let somebody know that he's safe.
That's the most important thing for all of you.
Yeah.
Okay, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming to talk to us, both of you, and Jade, to you as well. If you've seen Damian or you know anything about where he or his car could be, please call Missing People. They'd really like to hear from you, and their number is on the screen for you right now.
32-year-old Michael Thomas has been missing from Trafalgar in the north of Cornwall since the 2nd of February 2008. Michael's 5'10" tall, of athletic build, with blue eyes and long curly brown hair. When he was last seen, Michael was wearing a black jumper, blue jeans and brown shoes. He has a mole on his left cheek and may also now have grown a beard. So if you thought that he might have travelled to London, if you know anything about where he could be, please let Missing People know. You can contact them on 0500 700 700.
Chester had never forgotten his first girlfriend or the reason that they were forced apart. Over 40 years later, he gets a phone call that might just bring them back together.
This is the wedding of childhood sweethearts Christine and Chester, 40 years after they first met. The couple were just teenagers when their paths first crossed back in the 1960s.
When I met Chester, I was going to a local youth club in our village, and he came from Taunton and with some mates, and obviously he was older than the rest of us. And he just came in, he was full of nonsense, bubbly, lively, and had a laugh.
I met Christine in '65 at Button St Mary Youth Club. I went with my girlfriend, but ended up coming on with Christine. And we went out for 3 years after that.
After years of dating, the young couple caused a scandal when Christine fell pregnant.
It was a difficult time because I realised that she was pregnant. Her parents didn't know, but I got drunk one night and sort of explained to the village what was happening.
So after that, my parents took over. They said that they even had an auntie came to the house, and they all went in the front room and discussed me. The deal was that they would bring up the baby as long as Chester wasn't involved anymore.
It was hard to walk away. And being a small village, everybody does the yapping, you know. But yeah, I felt sorry at the time.
Christine and Chester's daughter Tracy was born in 1968, unaware of the controversy surrounding her.
I was brought up with my nan and granddad. My mum was always around, but obviously she had to go back to work because it was in those days when you couldn't stay at home and raise a child like you can now. So in the end, it was like they brought me up. And I had a good childhood. I had a lovely childhood.
Christine's parents never forgave Chester for exposing their daughter to scandal.
Every time he was mentioned, it was like, you don't mention him. He's bad news. So I just carried on with life, you know, went to school, did all the normal things and pushed him to the back of my mind.
It was just dropped until she got older, and obviously once Mum and Dad had passed away, she had no one to hurt. So then she started to sort of say, you know, ask more about her dad.
Even then, Tracy doubted she'd ever get to meet him. Then one day, Christine called with some news.
There was a picture of him in our local paper, and he was having some sort of an award. And so I saw it and thought, oh my God, you know. And because obviously the last time I'd seen him, he was 24, thin, mousy hair. And I thought, oh no, how old he looks and how big he got. And I just couldn't get over it. So I cut it out to show her. I said, this is your dad. And I thought, oh no, look, and look like him. Everyone had said I looked like him, and to see him in the flesh in the picture, it was like, I do look like him, yeah.
Now Tracy knew her dad was living locally, she traced him and sat down to make the call.
You know, I was very nervous about picking up the phone because I wasn't sure of what he remembered about those years ago and how he was treated, because he was really pushed aside at the time to go away and never come back.
I got a phone call from home. They said, I'm your daughter, you know, and I thought, hang on a minute, let's count to 10, let's go back. I just couldn't take it in, you know, I mean, it was such a shock, you know.
Father and daughter decided to overcome their nerves and arranged to meet up.
I had to get a bus from Wiveliscombe into Taunton, and I thought, how am I going to recognise her?
It was still very nervous because you're literally just sat in this bus station and you're waiting for one bus to come in, which is going to change your complete life, hopefully.
Got there, there's 3 people stood at the bus stop. A little lad, a little girl, and this older lady. So I thought, that's got to be them. So I got on the bus and she said, hello, Dad. And I said, oh, it is you then. And we set off straight away.
Father and daughter's relationship blossomed, but there was someone else Chester also wanted to know about.
Tracy said, look, your dad would really like to meet up with you again. What do you think about it? And I thought, oh, I don't know. And she said, oh, come on. She said, just come in and have a drink with us, you know. She said, just see how it goes.
Eventually, Christine agreed to meet the man she'd been forced to say goodbye to over 30 years earlier.
I was nervous and we met in the park, and Tracy said getting him to the park was hard because he was in an awful state.
Christine was there and I said, hello. And she said, hello. I said, I'm older than much of you. She said, oh, I'm 50 now. Anyway, we went for a drink and we started talking. And like you said, we talked for 5 hours, and so it was like we hadn't been apart for 35 years, you know?
It was just lovely. It felt that none of those years had gone.
At last, Christine and Chester were back together, and in September last year, they made it official.
I therefore pronounce them husband and wife.
The whole family are now making a new life together.
In the grandson went to school and said to the teacher, he said, I found my granddad, he said. Yeah, you know, I thought, that's a proud moment.
Well, if somebody was in a similar position and they'd had a relationship years ago and there's a second chance for them, then take it. Not everybody gets a second chance. And I'm glad that I've had the second chance, you know. I think they should go for it.
What a story. The couple are back together. I'm really glad to say. They're here as well. We can hardly keep them apart on the sofa. Look at you two cuddled up together. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Just take us back to that time. So you were boyfriend and girlfriend, what, some 40 years ago?
Yeah, I was 14 in 1965, and we stayed together for about 3 years.
Right. And your parents basically made you split up, didn't they?
When they found out I was pregnant, because I was only 16 and it was still a bit of a taboo subject, and they decided that they would bring the baby up and keep it rather than having it adopted if I sort of didn't have Chester in my life.
And that was it, wasn't it, Chester? You
it.
just broke contact, the
Yep.
two of you.
Yeah.
Was that tough for you?
Pardon?
Was that
very
tough for you?
Very tough. You know, what happens? You know, you got to think of Christine was so young, a young baby, baby on the way. You know, in 60s was hard for young girls. You know.
Yeah.
But no way would her parents let us get married. You know.
So you had to go back to work, didn't you?
I went back to work when Tracy was 6 weeks old. I was told by my boss, you know, you have 6 weeks off to have the baby. And when it was 6 weeks old, I went back to work, and Mum took over the full-time care. And it was an easy way for me, really.
Yeah, well, very many years later, Tracy, your daughter, then managed to get hold of your number. She phoned you up. What was that phone call like?
Quite terrific, actually, because I wasn't expecting any, you know, and the phone went, and this girl said, is that Chester? I said, yeah. She said, you don't know me, but you should. And I said, well, if I stay on the phone long enough, you're going to tell me. And she said, I'm your daughter, Tracy, you know. Well, at the time, I could have just put the phone down and said, forget it, you know. But we didn't, we talked. And we, as you know, we arranged a meeting. And the first meeting,
she set you up, didn't she? Because she told you both the same thing. What did she say?
She told me that her dad wanted to meet me.
And she told you?
Told me the same.
So I think we were set up, definitely.
What was that meeting like, the first meeting?
Oh, I was a bag of nerves. I think we both were a bag of nerves. When we first sort of walked towards each other, it had been 35 years. And obviously I was 16 when he last saw me. And when I last saw him, he was tall, slim and mousy colour hair. And I had this sort of old man walking towards me with grey hair. And he'd put on a lot of weight. And I thought, oh, you know. And he said I didn't look any different, so I thought I must have always looked 50.
I'm not sure. What did you think?
I didn't know. I'd have recognised her.
I'd altered, see? So at 16, I look 50.
Let's forward wind a little bit. So that was a great meeting, and I know you talked for 5 hours, and then what, you decided to, you proposed? How did it happen?
We proposed. We moved in together.
About 3 months after we first met, we moved in together.
Yeah.
And then we've lived together for 5 years.
Yeah.
And then he proposed in Christmas 2007. Went down on his knee. Or 2 knees because he fell down, and he proposed, and we got married last year.
Okay, if there are other people out there who perhaps, you know, have a long lost love, what would your advice be to them?
If they've got a chance for a second go, then go for it. You know,
Don't give up.
Don't give up. No, if the chance comes, take it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. It's lovely to see you here on Missing Life. Just stay there for a moment, would you? And brilliant to see you. If you've got a story about a reunion like this one, we would love to hear it. You can email us at missing.live@bbc.co.uk, or you can write us a letter. Our address is Missing Live, PO Box 63814, London, N1 1HF.
Now, there's been lots of calls into missing people this morning, so thank you for all your help, but we'd still like news on these cases. First up, this is this lady, Sharon Joseph, 48 years old, and been missing from her home in Croydon, Surrey, since August last year. Her current whereabouts are still unknown. We've taken a call this morning, which may be a decent lead, hopefully.
Absolutely. In 6 years since anyone seen 55-year-old Kevin Fasting. Now, he disappeared from his home in Liverpool. His 3 children desperately want to hear from him, and we have taken at least 1 call on him so far this morning.
This is the 3rd day that 44-year-old Trevor Adams will have been missing. He was on his way to work in Aberdeenshire, Scotland, but didn't turn up. His disappearance is very out of character.
Police think that finding her boyfriend could be the key to finding 15-year-old Alexandra Kulikowska. Now, she's been missing from her home in South London for 8 months. It's thought she's probably still in the London area. At least 2 calls on her so far.
That's good. 32-year-old Michael Thomas disappeared from Trafalgar in Cornwall nearly 2 months ago. It's thought he may now be in London.
If you can help with any of these cases, please call Missing People. The number's on your screen right now. A couple of other updates as well.
Yeah, we've got, just talking to Terry, actually. She's taken a call on Gillian Batt. She was the mother of 3, 49-year-old from Sussex. Possible sighting in Scotland, which is encouraging.
Carmel Fenwick as well. I think we've had some calls on her while we've been on air.
Yeah, which is good, bearing in mind it's a case that dates back to 1998.
And one we just mentioned a few moments ago, Jordan Ratcliffe. He's that 17-year-old went missing since August last year. Calls coming in, him
really
as
good.
well.
Now, nearly out of time for today, but please keep your calls coming in. Missing People on tomorrow's programme. We'll be bringing you the latest on all our appeals.
Yes, we'll have an update on the case of Andrew Goston. He was 14 when he went missing from his home in Doncaster 18 months ago. We featured his case last year. There's more news on the search for him.
A 26-year-old Greg Jackson disappeared from his home in West Kilbride, Scotland in June last year. He was due to take an exam on the day he went missing, but didn't turn up. He hasn't been seen since.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you for those calls. We're going to be back at the same time tomorrow. We'll see you then. Goodbye.
Bye.